Alex Preddy, a 37-year-old Minneapolis resident and ICU nurse who was murdered by federal agents on January 24, 2026, during an enforcement action. Renee Nicole Good, or Macklin Good, a 37-year-old U.S. citizen who was murdered and by an IC agent on January 7, 2026, during a traffic stop.
The entire world watched as a judge delivered a sentence that would change one man's life forever. Derek Chauvin, the former Minneapolis police officer convicted of murdering George Floyd, stood before the court awaiting his fate. The judge's words echoed through the courtroom. 22.5 years in prison.
As sentence for count 1, the court commits you to the custody of the Commissioner of Corrections for a period of 270 months. That's 270. That is a 10-year addition to the presumptive sentence of 150 months.
But here is what nobody told you that day. What awaited Derek Chauvin behind those prison walls would become a living nightmare that makes the death penalty look like mercy. And the recent events of 2025 have proven this in the most brutal way possible. When Derek Chauvin was sentenced in state court for the second-degree murder of George Floyd, he received 22.5 years. But that was just the beginning. In 2022, federal prosecutors added another 21 years for violating George Floyd's civil rights.
A federal judge sentenced former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin to 21 years in prison for violating George Floyd's civil rights on the day he was killed in May of 2020.
The sentences run concurrently, meaning he is serving them at the same time. If everything goes according to plan, if he gets every bit of good behavior credit possible, Derek Chauvin will not walk free until 2038. That is 13 more years from now as of January 2026. Most people heard those numbers and thought, well, that is justice. He will sit in a cell, read books, eat prison food, and serve his time. Case closed. Right? Wrong. Dead wrong. Here is the reality that nobody talks about. Derek Chauvin is not just serving time. He is surviving every single day in an environment where his name alone makes him the #1 target in the entire federal prison system. And we are not talking about just verbal threats or dirty looks. We are talking about actual life-threatening violence that has already happened. Let me paint you a picture of what Derek Chauvin's daily existence looks like right now in January 2026. He currently resides at the Federal Correctional Institution in Big Spring, Texas. It is classified as a low-security prison, which sounds nice until you understand what that really means. It means he shares space with over 800 other inmates. It means he has to walk through common areas. It means he has to go to the law library, the cafeteria, the recreation yard, and every single one of those moments could be his last. And this is not paranoia. This is a documented fact. Because on November 24, 2023, the worst-case scenario became reality. Derek Chauvin was in the law library at the Federal Correctional Institution in Tucson, Arizona, where he was previously held. He was probably reading legal documents, working on his appeals, doing what inmates do. And then, without warning, another inmate attacked him from behind with an improvised weapon. 22 times. Let that sink in for a moment. 22 stab wounds. The attacker, John Turskak, a former member of the Mexican mafia gang, had been planning this for over a month. He later admitted to investigators that he specifically chose Black Friday, the day after Thanksgiving, to make it symbolic. Symbolic of the Black Lives Matter movement. Symbolic of the black hand associated with the Mexican mafia. The only reason Derek Chauvin survived that day was because correctional officers responded quickly. Turskak himself admitted that if they had been just a few minutes slower, he would have succeeded in his mission.
As in others, Alex Preddy had nothing in one hand, a phone in the other. We see two people interacting with an agent. We then see an agent push one of those people, then push the second person. Alex Preddy steps between them and the agent and is pepper sprayed. He's wrestled to the ground by a number of agents. He's on his knees, bent over. His hands are on the floor, and he's struggling against being held down. One agent repeatedly strikes in the direction of his head. And take note of this agent. He has nothing in his right hand, reaches down, and removes what appears to be a gun from Alex Preddy's waistband. Then he steps back, holding the pistol, which appears to match this image shared by the authorities. Carrying this type of gun is legal in Minnesota with a valid permit. The police say they believe Alex Preddy had one. Less than a second after the gun is removed, An agent fires. As Alex Pretty lies motionless, further shots are fired while agents are standing clear of his body. In total, 10 shots were fired in 5 seconds.
So after the shooting involving ICE and a woman in Minneapolis, many of you are asking, has this happened before? So our Get the Facts data team created a couple of interactive tools using information from the nonprofit organization The Trace. This map right here shows the incidents involving federal immigration enforcement agents from ICE and Border Patrol during President Trump's second term. They're divided into 3 main categories: shootings, times when guns were pulled or shown, and when less lethal weapons were used. So there's been at least 45 incidents across the country in the last 7 months, and that's data through January 8th, including the incidents in Minneapolis and Portland. Now digging a little bit deeper, there were 16 incidents where immigration enforcement officials have shot at civilians. 4 people were killed, and at least 7 people were injured. Now this other 45 incidents across the country in the last 7 months, and that's data through January 8th, including the incidents in Minneapolis and Portland. Now digging a little bit, incidents where immigration enforcement officials have shot at